Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cassie Johnson and my channel is all about teaching you how to make money selling on Etsy with print on demand. And today, super exciting, we have here to join us Ryan Hogue from Ryan Hogue Passive Income YouTube channel. How are you today, Ryan?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Super exciting. I know I have been watching your channel for a couple of years now. You are one of the biggest authorities in print on demand on YouTube. So just a wealth of knowledge. So we figured we'd have Ryan over here on my channel to talk about merch by Amazon.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk merch by Amazon. That's how I got my start with print on demand. So yeah, I'm here if you have any questions.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So I guess just to start, why don't you tell us a tiny bit about your journey with print on demand? How long have you been doing it?
Sure. I got started with print on demand, not even intentionally. Like I was in 2017, really took my passive income journey seriously. Like it's been in my mind since 2016. I really was like hungry for knowledge and was doing the paralysis by overanalysis thing. 2017, they paid somebody to teach me Amazon FBA. Like we would meet one-on-one once a week. While I was learning FBA, I stumbled upon merch by Amazon from a subreddit. So on reddit.com, related to like making money online. Ended up applying, not getting in, stumbling upon it again later because I didn't even know what I was applying for when I initially applied. So merch by Amazon, by the way, there is an application process. Everybody that is not familiar with it, you do have to apply and get accepted. There can be a buffer of time between when you apply and when you're accepted. And it's honestly unknown. So it could be a day, it could be a month. So, but if you're lucky, it could be a day. Anyways, I ended up getting in and kind of the rest was history. Slow first month. I don't even know if I made a sale in my first 30 days, but started taking it seriously about a month after I was accepted because I wanted to see what kind of potential it really held. And, the rest is, like I said, history. Once you get that ball rolling, you start seeing the sales come in. It becomes addicting.
Yeah, I definitely feel the exact same way starting print on demand in 2020. Ever since I started, I probably have done print on demand for 20 or 40 hours a week, every week since the second I found it. So I think as soon as you get that first sale, you're just absolutely hooked. And I'm glad that you brought up the application process because I'd love to go over getting started on Amazon for this video because most of my audience is on Etsy and doing print on demand with Etsy, which is a great place to be. But if you can go ahead and repurpose those designs and put them in more places, then you might as well and get even more sales, right? So most of my audience, I don't think has actually gotten started with Amazon. So I know you had mentioned kind of the application process and not everyone gets approved. Like you said, you didn't the first time. So if you'd want to go over any tips to get approved, what you think is most important, or if you can apply again, if you get denied, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. And there's definitely some like different kind of opinions on the application process. So over the years, I've come to the opinion myself that when you apply, and they actually, I think the button may still say like request invitation. I don't know. So it's like you apply, but you're requesting invitation, whatever you want to call it. It's basically like, just keep clicking next and filling out the fields. And I think my suspicion that I think the biggest determining factor of if you're accepted or not is where you live, and more specifically, like who you bank with, which I think is really most primarily important based on like at a country level and sort of like a relationship with like United States financial system level. Now, I mean, I want to say it's kind of confirmed because when I went on vacation a couple of weeks ago, I had pre-recorded a whole series of merch by Amazon videos where I read through the resources section. So it's like straight from people who work at merch by Amazon. And they had something in there. I don't remember the exact like wording, but it basically made a point to say that like your specific bank and where you live like has something to do with getting paid out your royalties. Because I had strongly, suspected that there was something to do with like where you applied from would have a strong lean on whether or not you were accepted. Like for instance, people in even the United Kingdom, like I had friends there that were doing Amazon KDP. They couldn't get into Amazon merch though for some reason. And I think it really boils down to like where you live and like where your bank is located, as weird as that may sound.
Interesting, because I know from some of the research I've heard, they go based off of if you've been in print on demand in the past, or if you're already making any designs. Have you heard any of that really being a factor? Like if someone doesn't already have an Etsy shop or it doesn't already sell print on demand, do you think that's an important thing to put on your application, or do you think it's not really part of it?
I used to think so, and I still would recommend to like say that you have been selling print on demand for 3 years, 4 years, and just like link to someone's Etsy shop. Cause again, no one would ever be able to independently verify that that was you telling the truth anyways, unless they actually had a human reading every application, which
Sure.
they're getting so many tens of thousands probably per wave. And you know what I mean? Like there's no way a human's reading all these. It's just no way. Like the team is like, it's against Amazon culture. Like that company is known for running, with a really light number of employees relative to like the revenue they bring in per employee. It's just not
Right.
how Bezos structured it. So I don't think they have like a army of, 1,000 people that just sit there reading Merch by Amazon applications all day.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I appreciate that. And if you get denied, what's your recommendation? Because I know you got denied and then reapplied. Did you have to open a new email for that, or what did that really look like?
Yeah, I didn't, but I think today you will need to. Basically, you'll need to just create a new like Amazon account,
Yeah.
even if it has like no, order history as a customer or anything like that. To my knowledge, like people are able to do that. I think you may need a new phone number, which there's a couple options for how to get. I'm not 100% because I haven't done
Sure.
this recently. Someone messaged me like last week asking. I know you can go to like Google Voice, so just google.com/voice and get a free phone number. And there's other options.
Okay.
So if you need to get a new phone number, try that. I would just keep reapplying. Personally, the record I've heard was 13 attempts before getting accepted. And
Wow.
I've heard people also say that they skipped all the optional write-ins and still got accepted. So
Wow.
I've heard it all.
So you think maybe sometimes they just let in big waves and then sometimes maybe they deny a bunch of people because they do sometimes close the application, don't they, where you can't apply for Merch by Amazon, or is that wrong?
I'm not sure, because I'm not looking that often. Like when I'm
Yeah,
logged
you're
in, so when I go to my web browser, it just goes straight to the sales dashboard. But I know the fourth quarter, it's like if you get denied in the fourth quarter, like don't worry about it because they'll even implement like restrictions on what we can upload. And in the past, they've even like stopped uploads. And I'm sure it's just due to the stress on their web servers from all the traffic. So the fourth quarter is probably the worst time to apply.
so now would be a good time to go ahead and apply, even if
For
you don't
sure.
get started, just go ahead and apply for it.
Yeah, apply now, get accepted, and then just like scale your account up as quickly as possible so that you have as many upload slots in the fourth quarter.
Okay, perfect. No, that's really, really good advice. And then I'd love to get your opinion on this next thing. So again, most of my watchers here have Etsy shops and are selling on Etsy. And so, if you're not familiar with Merch by Amazon, when you first get an account, you're in something called tier 10. So you only have 10 available file slots to upload designs for. And so you can't just go upload every design you've ever put on Etsy immediately. And until you make 10 sales, you don't get approved to sell the next amount of things, which is, I believe, 25 things.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to get your opinion. If someone was starting Merch by Amazon today, let's say they've been at least semi-successful on Etsy, would you recommend them just putting their best sellers from Etsy right onto Amazon first for those 10 slots? Or do you think it'd be a better use of their time to try and put in something that is trending right now, like the next holiday coming up?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the first thing is, I always say make it work for you. So it's like, if you don't have time to sit down and create a new design related to the next holiday coming up, then it's definitely a great idea to just put your best sellers up that are already validated from Etsy. Because something's better than nothing. So anybody that's watching this that's like, oh, do I have time to take on another thing? Merch by Amazon, I have to learn what that is and stuff like that. I would definitely say like dive in because number one, it's completely free. Like you don't have to pay 20 cents a quarter, renewal fees or anything like that. You literally just get paid out of royalties. So nothing to lose, everything to gain. And like you were saying, the tier system. So when you start off, you can only have 10 designs maximum live for sale. And as you kind of make sales, improve yourself, they will increase that number. So, I'm in tier 200,000. So I went from tier 10
Wow.
to tier 200,000. I don't know what percent increase that is, but it's absolutely massive. And the funny thing is like, you don't even have to be good at Merch by Amazon. You can just kind of be consistent and you will still grind out sales slowly and scale that account up. And as long as you keep showing up, like you'll keep making money. I was just having lunch with my mom yesterday for her birthday, and she was like, man, I just made a sale in Europe. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Cause she hasn't uploaded anything in like a year probably, but I'll still like email her designs and like remind her like, hey, just, upload some of these. And, they'll automatically sometimes push your products from the US market to the international markets. They started doing that. So you can have a international print on demand business with minimal effort. And if you're just getting started, to answer your question, like I would, if you have time, recommend chasing the low hanging fruit near term trends, just because you're not really worried about profitability. Like you just want to kind of sell a t-shirt super cheap,
Right.
Incentivize them to buy from you because you're, low price point, and be where the customers are, because it's not about like making a bunch of money while you have 10 shirts for sale. To me, it's about making a bunch of money when you have 1,000 shirts for sale or 2,000.
Right. It's that long-term goal. And I know when you're first starting print on demand, it's hard to have that vision and it feels like such a grind. But if you really start with that kind of thought process, then I think you can grow so much faster. So that is really, really, really good advice, to really have that larger tier in mind. And then I'll go ahead and plug your YouTube channel, which again is awesome. Every single week, Ryan creates a 5 niches of the week video. So I'm assuming that's probably what he's saying. He'll go through and actually do the research and see what's selling right now. And then you can go try and upload those to get out of tier 10. So I know when I first started, and even now, I love watching those videos because there's so many niches you never even knew existed that randomly start selling. One little teaser from his last video was, what was it? Field day.
Yeah, actually, real quick though, I may have made a mistake on that one, because the trademark search tool that I was using is actually built into the research tool I use to find these niches. And it said that it wasn't trademarked. And I think there may be trademark issues with that. So
never mind. Forget
I should have gone straight to the source. I should have gone straight to the trademark database, because I've actually been talking to the developers from the tool that I used. And they were like, no, it's not trademarked. Then I was like, double check, it is trademarked. They're like, oh crap.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you said something. I hadn't looked at selling them, so I didn't check either. We do talk about trademarks a lot on this channel. If you haven't watched that video on how to check for trademarks, I use the trademark database. I'll put the link to that video.
Go straight to the source. Great advice.
Yeah, that's where I check all of them. It really takes time, but if you get too many trademark infringements on Etsy, you lose your account. But with Amazon, if you put in a trademarked term, if you want to go over that, Ryan, it's a little bit more dangerous, right?
Yeah. So just as easily as, Amazon may let you in and give you the rights to participate in their Merch by Amazon program, they can take it away. So if you commit like an honest mistake, like, oh, I submitted a field day design and oops, that was trademarked, like you're most likely okay, unless you're kind of repetitively doing it. But what will really, really get you in trouble is infringing on like a big brand's intellectual property. That can just bring down the instant ban hammer. So you don't want to fly too close to the sun at all when it comes to, because they already have partnerships with big brands like Marvel, Disney, and they're just adding more and more brands. Like there's a Top Gun movie coming out, and the Top Gun designs popped up out of nowhere, and they're selling really well. And if you don't know any better, when you're just kind of analyzing the best sellers, you may think like, oh, I'm going to make a Top Gun shirt. I don't even know what it means, but I'm going to throw it up there.
Right.
And, you have to stop and just confirm whatever it is that you're looking at. So
no, that's really, really great advice, because if you don't know, the plausible deniability doesn't work here, because Amazon's algorithm actually checks the trademarks. And so it's not like Etsy, where you only get a trademark or copyright infringement if the brand or the person comes and reports you. Amazon, it's more of an automatic, especially in tier 10. They have a person look at each and every design you make and decide if it can go up or not. And so it is a little bit, you want to be more careful. If you're selling fringe Disney shirts on Etsy, bad news, take those down and don't put them on Amazon, because then you'll lose your Amazon account forever. So definitely not a good idea to do those.
For sure. Then I had a question for you, actually. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
All right. So we're talking about like tier 10. And I should mention that if you're in the low tiers, like tier 10 is where you start, they limit your daily product submissions. So it's almost like a gamification of starting your Merch by Amazon business. And I actually really like that, because it helps to not overwhelm new sellers. And I wanted to ask you, Cassie, like what number of like submissions a day were you doing with Etsy with no submission cap. Cause that's something that like I struggled with when I was on Etsy. And like I said, I'm restarting my Etsy story. We did a great interview on my channel. If anybody wants to check that out as well, that will already be live. So check that
Yeah,
out.
I'll put it in the description because his is going to go live before mine does.
Yeah, just link to that video. And then if they want to subscribe, the button's right there. But
Yeah, definitely
quick plug.
subscribe.
Yeah. But so like what were your thoughts when you can upload as many products a day as you want to Etsy? Like how did you approach that?
No, that's a really good question because a lot of people ask that because on Amazon there is a cap. And so you really take your time and do that. And then sometimes you're stuck and you have to just design. But on Etsy, it's just unlimited. And so a lot of people struggle with like workflow and figuring out how to make designs, when to make designs, what to focus on. And they end up trying to focus a teeny bit in 10 directions and then just getting stuck and doing nothing. And I know that was me my first month. After I lost my account for 30 days, I had made 50 designs in that time and tried to upload them to my own Shopify store. But that was, a disaster because I didn't know SEO or how to build a website. So happy to be back on Etsy. I made 0 sales from that. So I came to starting my Etsy shop really essentially with 50 designs already made because of that time that I had. And it was really slow going at first because I think when you first start on Etsy or Amazon, you think that you have to like recreate the wheel every time you go to make a new design and you overthink it and you spend 40 minutes on it and it ends up a year later, you think it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen anyways. And so I think for my first few months, it was a really slow roll. I'd probably do maybe 5 or 10 different listings a day in the beginning, and that felt like so much. But as time went on, I'd say it was 2, 3, 4 months in, I started working on these scalable designs that Ryan recommends on his channel. So, say you find one nice design style, so maybe like a rainbow with text underneath it in a nice cursive font, and then you make 50 different niches that look identical. They're the same rainbow, the same font, but different words underneath. And as soon as I found out how to do that, I got up to doing 20, 30, 50 listings every single day. And I don't have this many listings anymore because things die over time and stop selling. But I think I've uploaded 6,000 listings to Etsy in my 2 years.
That's impressive. Very nice. Yeah. It's funny because I don't know if there is a right or wrong way of doing Etsy because we both probably seen the big shops that have very few listings and you're just like, man, that's awesome. Like that's the dream. And then there's big shops too that have a lot of listings, thousands. So for me, like I always paced my approach. Like I'm sure you probably disagree and you've opened my eyes to the fact that like I always thought merch by Amazon, like highest earning potential with print on demand. So I optimized everything for my merch by Amazon tier, like in tier 10, tier 25, I was doing like a lot of time and effort into a single design because I only had, X number of slots. And now with basically infinite slots, I have 200,000 of them. It's like I can take one really good design template and like swap out the text, and enter different niches and whatnot. So that's kind of the approach that I began to take when Merch by Amazon increased my tier limit to 500. Cause then I started having to wrap my brain around how to approach it on a day-to-day basis as well. Cause I always wanted to use my upload slots every day. It was like a challenge, the goal was set for me. And that's why I was interested in hearing your approach with Etsy because no one's setting the goal for you. So you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to force yourself to do 5 uploads a day or you just kind of take it in stride. And different people probably have to approach it different ways.
Oh my gosh, yeah, holding yourself accountable. I think myself and most people have trouble with that and sticking with it and just getting it done. So I'd say if you just like sit down and say, I'm going to do this specific thing for an hour and just do that specific thing, you'll have a lot better time with it for sure. Has been something that's, really helpful for me. But, you have sold on Etsy a lot in the past, and I know you're selling on Etsy now. And so I was curious what your thoughts were. Do the same types of designs sell on Etsy and on Amazon, or are you going to do something completely different, like aesthetic wise for your Etsy shop?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like what got me super interested in Merch by Amazon was like my first sale and the niche that it was in. And, cause then I had the mindset of like, okay, let me sell like more things. Well, it wasn't even the niche really. I hadn't like mentally kind of climbed the ladder of how to approach it. So I literally took the exact same design and just made it better and made some sales on that same design. Like then with Etsy, what really got me interested in Etsy was at this point, this was like probably months after I had started merch. So I'm a little bit more established and confident in how to approach things. And like the first shirt that like sold a couple times, and it was like, okay, I'm onto something here. And
Yeah.
so I didn't just recreate that design. Well, actually I did do that. I did do that for
You
sure.
did
But
that too. Yeah.
yeah, but I also just was like, all right, what niche is this? Like, who's buying this? Can I sell more than one product to the same customer? And this is where Shopify is actually great because you can control the checkout and like
Yeah.
upsell them. But on Etsy, you can still say like, all right, if they're buying this, maybe there's other people like them that want something in this niche. And so I really like that. That made me a lot of money on Amazon too, because it went reverse. Like what sold well on Amazon, in my personal experience, didn't sell as well on Etsy, but like Etsy to Amazon reverse, where I found a niche that was just super working well on Etsy, worked well on Amazon as well. So
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you think backwards, not
that was
so
my
much,
experience
but
though. I mean, it
yeah,
probably
for
works both
you.
ways.
Because I've
How about
heard a
you?
lot of times that people on Amazon have that issue. And so that's why I was curious. I'm still newer to Amazon. I've only been on it about a year, and most of my focus has been here on Etsy. So definitely looking to grow my own Amazon business even more in 2022. But my designs have sold fine. I've only until January, I only had 200 items for sale, and I sold about 1,000 things last year. So I'd say that's pretty decent. Nothing crazy though. But my bestseller on Etsy did become my bestseller on Amazon. And so I did see that it worked, and it was with an all sunsets design. So
Nice.
I'm definitely the one who turned me onto those back in the day. Thank you.
That's awesome. What was I gonna say? All Sunsets, by the way, that's like probably the cheapest like graphic subscription you'll get for. And I just keep it simple. One person messaged me and said like, oh, like some of these sunsets aren't that great. And I mean, like, I'm literally just an affiliate. So I mean, but I personally have a folder of like 5 of them that are like my favorites. And I just pretty much use the same 5.
Yeah, same. I wonder if we use the same ones.
Maybe, I don't know. I was going to say actually that the merch by Amazon approval algorithm. So every time we submit a design and the keywords, like it's very strict because they're trying to police literally millions of submissions like at scale algorithmically, because there's nobody sitting there reading them. And sometimes it presents opportunity because they can incorrectly flag something as being a trademark infringement when it's not. And anytime that happens and like it's truly not, and you have the rights to sell it, like that's when I like to jump on over to Etsy and say, okay, people aren't going to sell this in merch by Amazon. So I'm going to get it listed on Etsy and hopefully get it indexed really high on like not only Etsy search, but Google search. Cause then there's no Amazon. Well, there, you can also sell through Amazon Seller Central, and I do that as
Right.
well. So just like thinking a step ahead of like where most other people may stop, if they can't submit it through merch, they just give up. Whereas I'm like, I'm going to Etsy and I'm going to Amazon Seller Central and I'll list it there.
Wow, that's really interesting. Now, that's great advice. It's those little things that as you've been doing this a little bit longer, you kind of find your own little hacks and, can make more money than other people just keeping moving and doing more. So I think that's really innovative that you've done that. And then I had a question for you as well about what to sell. And I think I already know the answer, but if you're just starting out on Amazon, do you recommend only selling shirts, or are there any other products that you'd recommend getting started with?
Yeah, the standard t-shirts are the best selling product on merch by Amazon. And I think when you just start, it fluctuates. Sometimes they let you submit 1 product a day. Sometimes it's 2. But I mean, depending on when you watch this video, it may or may not be 1 or 2. I think generally speaking, the best practice is just like push to standard t-shirts. And once you max out your 10 designs, you actually can like go back in daily with your unused submissions, and you can enable additional products from the previously uploaded designs. So you could say like, all right, enable hoodie, enable pop socket. It's really up to you. I mean, I definitely think like prioritize the standard t-shirts though. And I would price them like super low when you just get started as well, just to create that extra incentive for people to buy from you and not your competition.
And so by super low, do you mean literally at cost? Because I do see some people online recommending, I think it's $13.07. Is that the cost for the standard shirt?
Yep, you got it. You memorized it. $13.07.
And so do you recommend selling it literally at cost, or would you say like $13.99, try and make some money off of it? Or when would you make that change?
Yeah, like 1307 looks a little awkward, but like I still recommend 1307 in case people sort by price low to high, but it's also kind of a broken mechanism on Amazon, which I think is intentional. Like I think they intentionally break, like they have like almost an intentional dumb search, where like a customer may have typed in a good search term and then used price low to high. and then gotten something that is included that's indexed on those keywords you typed, but isn't the right product. You get what I'm saying? So like then when they sort low to high or high to low even, it prioritizes price too heavily, and then it shows them the wrong product.
Oh, interesting. It's like
So
semi fringe related somewhere.
I think that personally, like, people make fun of me for shopping on eBay, but if you go price low to high on eBay, it actually gives you like what you're looking at most of the time, like what you're looking to buy, and gives you the lowest price. So,
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you're saying to get out of tier 10, do what's kind of trending right now, and then put it at cost so you can get out of tier 10 as quick as possible. And then after that, your kind of strategy would change. But that's like the tier 10 advice you'd give to someone.
Yeah, even tier 25, tier 100, I think get to tier 500 and then worry about making money. And one quick tip too is like, you're always trying to stand out. This applies to Etsy as well. Like on Merch by Amazon though, if you enable the color black, which is the best selling color of a t-shirt, the default thumbnail people see in search results is always going to be black. So one thing you can do to just be a little bit different, right? A little bit contrarian, is don't enable black. Like maybe just enable white even, right? Because white's going to contrast really well against a sea of black shirts. You're the only white shirt on that big trend. And hopefully you stand out, even if it's like subliminal. The person doesn't know why they clicked you and not anybody else.
Interesting.
So
actually, one of my best sellers on Amazon, I only have the women's shirt selected. So that way the women's one would be the thumbnail. And I wonder if I should test that a little bit more, because if you select men's, kind of unisex and women's, men shows up first, just like the black shirt does. And I've sold a bunch of that shirt. And so I'm wondering if women are just more likely to click that. And so I've started sometimes when I have a bestseller on Etsy, uploading it twice to Amazon, once with unisex and women's and once with just women's, just to have it kind of stand out in that same way. So no, that's really good advice.
That's smart. Yeah. And I just did a batch of, I'm actually doing it on my upload automation right now, but like of just women's, like you said. So I really
interesting.
like that.
So you're doing that too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that, Ryan did just mention is Amazon has this great thing that you can do. Do you do Merch Titans automation? Is that what you're using?
That's what I'm using right now. Although it's funny, this morning I was using their competitor Flying Upload, and I mean, they both work perfectly. So anybody Merch Titans actually is a little bit more efficient as of recording this, because they have the publish settings that you can save, which saves you so much upload time. So I'm cranking out uploads like 5 times faster right now with Merch Titans.
No, that's great. I think all of this has been really good advice for beginners. So I appreciate you giving your insights on getting started with Merch by Amazon and really what that looks like. And I think the most exciting thing that, I really appreciate about Ryan's channel is, I know I've been preaching here in some of my videos about starting different side hustles, so you can repurpose things like put your Etsy designs on Amazon or sell them as digital downloads if they don't sell on a shirt, or different ways. And I think Ryan's a really good resource for that. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is how you would prioritize as a beginner, now that you know what you know, and you have so many different side hustles and so many places that you list your designs like Redbubble and Teespring and eBay and Fulfilled by Amazon. Now knowing what you know, how would you tier what's most important and to master each and then move on to the next platform?
Well, based on our conversation from my channel, I think, if everybody's subscribing to your channel and doing well on Etsy, like start there. Cause I underestimated how much money could be made with print on demand on Etsy. I think after hearing your success, I'm like, okay, maybe I have this backwards. Maybe that's priority number one. But either way, I think like I would always reverse, like the top would just be based on earning potential, like income. Because that's unless you're doing it for something else, like some other fulfillment, you just like doing the art or whatever. For me, it's about the money. So I'll always place the highest earner at the top in terms of priority. And like, I just have like a mantra of just literally, it's like, make it work for you. Like is a mantra that I've said to myself for years, because like I got started and I was working a day job and working a second job teaching at night, 2 nights a week. So it was just, and I have a life, so you just got to make it work. Like if you have excuses and you lean on the excuses as like, oh, it's okay that I didn't get it done because of X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Because if it didn't get done, it didn't get done. So it's better to do something than nothing. And one example would just be quickly like make a text only design on a shirt and upload it. Because then you've done something, right? You didn't have time to make an actual design, or you didn't have time to research. fine. It's still something rather than nothing. So making it work for you, I think, is like a big thing that, because over time, if you just chip away, take, step by step, keep showing up, you'll build something great, but if you leave the door open in your mind, like mentally, it's almost a mental thing. Like you leave the door open in your mind to not make progress, then you're more likely to not make progress. So I think for me personally, it's just like, I never left that door open. It was always like, okay, I'm going to get something done. If I have 10 minutes, I'm going to get 10 minutes worth of work done. If I have 2 hours, I'll get 2 hours worth done. And now I work for myself from home all day. So I got infinite time and, sky's the limit.
That's amazing. No, I really love that, Ryan, because I think you're not alone. Most people are working a job or two, have a family, and trying to get started. So, I think just getting the work done in those little tiny pockets of time and moving forward and having that forward view to know, if I really hustle now, I could quit my job and do this full time, in 6 months or a year or 2 years, depending on how much you can kind of put into it, is a really good goal to have. So I think that's really inspirational that you've been able to quit your job and do this full time, and myself as well. So I know that's been a big blessing in our lives over here. So I appreciate you so much joining us here on the channel, Ryan. This has been a great introduction to Amazon for my subscribers. I really appreciate it. So again, Ryan's channel is going to be linked down in the description. So make sure to go check out his channel and subscribe. And thank you again for joining, Ryan.
Thanks, Cassie.